On a Chinese fighter jet harassing a U.S. Air Force plane just last week, according to U.S. Indonesian Pacific Command statement. What you're seeing here on the side of your screen is video of what's being called an unnecessarily aggressive maneuver.
Yeah, and today, China's foreign ministry spokesperson blamed, unsurprisingly, U.S. quote-unquote provocations for this incident. Now, it occurred while the RC-135 reconnaissance aircraft was operating in international airspace over the South China Sea on May 26th. Well, here to discuss this latest incident is author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War, Gordon Chang. Sir, good to have you on. Good to see you. So, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin departed D.C. On Tuesday for his 7th trip to the Indo-Pacific region. Late Monday, Pentagon spokesperson said that China had rejected an invitation for a meeting between Austin and his Chinese counterpart on the sidelines of the annual defense summit that they're both attending in Singapore. Well, on this latest incident back in December, actually, a similar situation happened with a Chinese and U.S. jet. In fact, back then, a Chinese fighter jet flew within 20 feet of the nose of another RC-135, which had to take, once again, even back then, evasive maneuvers. So clearly, at the very least, this is completely unprofessional. But do you think that this is more than just Chinese pilots toying with U.S. pilots and instead something more provocative?
These intercepts could not occur unless they had the approval of the top of the Chinese military, which has to have the approval of the top of the Chinese political system, the Politburo Standing Committee. We got to remember that this most recent intercept took place on May 26th. That date is significant because on May 26, 2022, there was a dangerous intercept of an Australian P-8 also over the South China Sea. So China's regime anniversaries are very important to it, and they want those anniversaries to be important to us. But we're Americans, so we think we're entitled to be oblivious. This was no accident. This had to come from the top of Beijing.
A symbolic date there that obviously does not go unnoticed, or should not go unnoticed, as you know, Gordon. Let's dissect a little bit about what Xi spoke of recently. He called on his top national security officials to think about what he called worst case scenarios in this new speech, prepare for stormy seas. There's part of his comments from this week. And he talks about the complexity and difficulty of the national security issues we now face, saying they've increased significantly. Worst case scenario thinking, ready to undergo major tests. I mean, is this part of a psychology here for him also to project strength, maybe not talk about the economic issues that are happening in his country? What do you read from this?
China's going to go to war. I don't know how else you can put this. This is a regime that wants to go to war. It knows better, but nonetheless, there is a bloodlust there. And, we have to ask ourselves, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, in testimony to the Senate said, well, nothing's inevitable. Well, yeah, nothing's inevitable. But how many times do you have a militant regime on this breakneck buildup and it doesn't go to war? And so what Xi Jinping is saying, worst consequences, look, no one's going to attack China. Nobody threatens China. If there's going to be worst consequences, it means that China's going to attack somebody. And that somebody, although this is inconceivable to the Biden administration, that somebody could be us.
So that rejecting of an invitation between Austin and his Chinese counterpart, that's a significant development as well.
Yes, but, to step back, the Biden administration should not try to have a conversation with someone that the U.S. has sanctioned. And really what that has done is it showed to the Chinese regime that the United States is feeble because we won't even adhere to our own sanctions.
But Gordon,
how
does it
breaks
benefit
down deterrence?
How does it benefit China to go to war with the United States? I mean, you tweeted yesterday, pray for your community, pray for your country, pray for humanity. We're under unrelenting attack. But how does it benefit China to start a war with the United States?
If Xi Jinping thinks there's no other way out personally for him, then war is a viable option. There are so many problems inside China right now, and the regime has really no answers to them, whether we're talking economics, food shortages, youth unemployment, the whole kit and caboodle of them. Now, I think that the regime's only feeling is that the only way out for it is to actually go to war. Now, I could be wrong, But on the other hand, we are seeing so many signs, including the most recent one, which is the Chinese military is now purging general officers who are opposed to war.
Well, obviously, and if they see this administration as feeble and feckless, that is going to read into some of their play here. Obviously, hopefully the signals are getting to the
Well, I think
folks
we're
in
definitely
Washington.
in a cyber war with China, certainly at this point, an intellectual property war, to say the least.
Yeah, well,
Gordon
when
Chang.
they're winning. Thank you, Gordon. Always great to see you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.